We've been watching the confirmation hearing for President Biden's nominee for Attorney General, Merrick Garland. Let's bring in ABC News political director Rick Klein for more on this. Rick, Judiciary Chairman Senator Dick Durbin called Garland's nomination as one of the most critical in department history, and he seemed to summarize some priorities for Democrats here, including what Garland will do for voting rights and how he will investigate the Capitol siege. Now, on the flip side, Judiciary Ranking Member Chuck Grassley previewed some Republican priorities, including confirming that Garland won't interfere with the special counsel investigation into the origins of the Russia probe or the U.S. attorney in Delaware's investigation of President Biden's son, Hunter Biden, among other issues like law enforcement at the border. What did you make of Garland's answers so far to questions along these lines?
These were careful answers, and I think appropriately careful, and it suggests to me that Judge Garland fully recognizes the kind of the external baggage that he brings potentially to this role, what he inherits from the Trump administration in terms of investigations, in terms of protocols. He was very careful, I think, not to prejudge any of these cases. Republicans were looking for commitments to say that he would let the Durham probe into the origins of the Russia investigation do whatever it needs to do and get fully published. He says, look, I'm about transparency, but I want to know more about it first. And I think from the other side, his commitment to even resigning if he was ordered to do something that he thought was contravening of the law, I think was an important concession and an important statement to make, again, as he tries to restore integrity and confidence in the department.
What are some of the big, are there some big topics still left on the table that you're looking to hear from him on as the hearing goes on?
I'm expecting some more specific questions about how he would handle January 6th. You saw an exchange moments ago with Senator Whitehouse from Rhode Island, a Democrat, asking if Judge Garland would look upstream, beyond the people that were actually at the Capitol, up to the people that might have been behind it in terms of funding, in terms of instigating. The words Donald Trump were not uttered as part of the question or the answer, but I thought that the fact that Judge Garland says, yes, of course, as an investigator, as a prosecutor, that would be exactly what I would do. I would be looking to see what, not just the people that were there, but what drove them to be there. I thought that was a critical exchange that I think is going to draw a little more scrutiny. And I think more broadly on the Republican side, you're going to continue to hear some hits on exactly how the Russia probe began and more commitments, maybe more specificity about how he would allow it to continue, because that is something that he inherits, kind of a political football that was punted into his zone.
Now, Garland led the Oklahoma City bombing probe in the 90s. He also played a key role in the Unabomber and Atlanta Olympics bombing cases. How do you think that could impact how he tackles some of these investigations, particularly the January 6th insurrection investigation as Attorney General?
It's so interesting because he was asked right off the bat by Chairman Durbin of Illinois if he sees a through line from Oklahoma City through January 6th, and the idea of trying to create chaos. He went further than that and went back to the KKK and white supremacists more broadly and said that there will be continuing threats. And I think it's that experience that he had after Oklahoma City with the Unabomber, other acts of domestic terrorism that could define his time actively as Attorney General, overseeing investigations like that. I think these are important areas, and he's trying to make it clear to the senators whose confirmation, the decision rests with them as to whether he's confirmed. He's making it clear to them that he understands the more full threat as the nation's chief law enforcement officer.
And on a slightly different note, the U.S. Supreme Court has rejected former President Trump's request to shield his taxes from the Manhattan DA's office. How significant is that ruling, and what does that mean moving forward?
Diane, this is a big deal. We waited for a long time, all the way through the election season, to get word from the Supreme Court as to whether they would block the release of these taxes. We know that the DA there in New York is looking for years' worth of taxes for what he said could be a wide-ranging criminal probe. We don't have a lot of details about what he's looking at, and this doesn't mean the public's going to see these tax returns, but it does mean that prosecutors in New York are going to see them and do with them what they will. And there are a whole lot of areas that we know that his business relationships have come under scrutiny in New York and beyond. This is not a good ruling, quite obviously, for President Trump. It is not what they were looking for from the Supreme Court.
All right. ABC political director Rick Klein. Rick, always great to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
We're going to go back to that hearing in just a moment. But first, we want to show you this. For the first time, a Capitol Hill police officer who fought off the violent mob on January 6th is telling his story on camera. Our Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas sat down with Officer Harry Dunn for an exclusive interview about what he saw that day and how he's moving forward.
There were so many calls on the radio. Priority, help, help. Somebody's trapped. We need help. Shots fired.
When Capitol Police Officer Harry Dunn went to work on the morning of January 6th, it felt like a normal day.
What's the first moment that you began to get a sense that something is off kilter here?
We were told to get helmets, riot helmets. That was new.
But no sense that all hell could break loose.
Correct, correct.
Then the 13-year veteran seen here watched as the crowd of thousands closed in on the east side of the Capitol.
You just see a sea of people, Trump flags, Confederate flags, thin blue line flags, don't tread on me flags. And then you look down and you see officers fighting with these people, pepper spray, smoke grenades, gas grenades, pepper balls being thrown by everybody, flashbangs. We fought with these people who were prepared for a fight. They had on gas masks, they had on body armor, they had on two-way radios, they had on tactical gear, bulletproof vests. They were ready to go.
When you see that level of preparedness, did that surprise you? Did it scare you?
I was scared. I was absolutely scared. I'm on this platform. I'm a big guy. I'm 6'7". I'm this giant person. And we had our guns out, and I'm thinking, all these people out there, they're armed too. And I'm like, I'm gonna get shot. They're gonna take me out. I remember at one point I said, how is this gonna end?
Eventually, the mob forced its way inside the Capitol building. Officer Dunn confronting a group carrying a Blue Lives Matter flag.
I said, we got dozens of officers down. We got dozens of officers down. And you got the nerve to be holding a Blue Lives Matter flag. I thought they were gonna have a moment where they came to and they realized, like, yo, what are we doing? But like they instantly snapped out of it and they said, nah, we're doing this for you. We're doing this for you. And as one of the guys kept walking by, the other one pulled out his badge and said, trust me, I understand. We're doing this for you, buddy. And he's got a badge. He shows me his badge.
What did you think? Fellow officers in the building?
You gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me.
Exhausted, Officer Dunn tried reasoning with a large group of protesters approaching a hallway he was guarding.
I literally told them, if they want to get through here, you got to go through me. And they didn't. They just started talking to me. They were saying how Joe Biden did not win the election and nobody voted for him. So I took the bait and okay, what about me? I voted for Joe Biden. Does my vote not count?
This is when Officer Dunn encountered a couple in the crowd who began hurling the most vile of racial slurs at him, a black officer.
And his girlfriend, she had on a pink MAGA shirt. He said, hey, this voted for Joe Biden, guys. Hey, everybody, this voted for Joe Biden. They said, you.
So the crowd joined in?
Everybody joined in with him.
You're in the Capitol, defending the Capitol. And somehow race seeped into that too.
Everybody wants to say that it was about politics and everything, but it was a large number of people in that crowd that were racist.
Did the people who were there tell you why they were there?
We're stopping the steal. According to them, they were doing it for us. They were doing us a favor. According to those terrorists.
You're very precise. You use the word terrorist.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It wasn't just a mob or a bunch of thugs, you know. They were terrorists. They tried to disrupt this country's democracy. That was their goal. And you know what? Y'all failed.
Our thanks to Pierre Thomas for that interview. And you can see more of Pierre's exclusive sit-down tonight on ABC News Prime and World News Tonight, as well as in the ABC News primetime series, Soul of a Nation. That premieres next Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern. And former FBI agent and ABC News contributor Brad Garrett joins me now for more on the siege on the Capitol and where things stand now. Brad, good morning. You know, we've learned a lot over the past month and a half about what happened at the Capitol, but that interview still gave me goosebumps. What stuck out to you about Dunn's account?
So when you sign up to be a sworn officer, local, state, federal, whatever it might be, you know that you could be placed in a deadly force situation. And typically it's serving a search warrant and a car stop and interaction on the street, and you just deal with it. But you're not really trained to deal with literally thousands of angry people that may potentially want to kill you facing you, knowing you can't go backward, you can't go forward, you have to deal with it. The number of officers, Diane, that said they believed they were going to die that day should just speaks volumes about what we put these officers through. And, in my view, completely unnecessary, because how unprepared the Capitol Police were. Again, I don't think it was the Capitol Police's fault. I think it was the management above the Capitol Police. But be that what it may, what happened on January 6th should never have happened that way.
So elaborate on that for me a little bit, because you hear him describing, done in this interview, a little bit about that, how prepared or unprepared the U.S. Capitol Police were that day.
So if you look at the intelligence that was available to those of us out here, to those of us who study this stuff, I was very concerned long before January 6th that this could be potentially violent. And if they were all convinced, and I think this is accurate, that January 6th was D-Day, that if they couldn't stop the certification of President-elect Biden, then everything would fall apart. President Trump had told them that the country will go into utter chaos unless he's in charge. And so everything was there to tell you this could really get ugly. So what do you do if you have that situation? You put up 7-foot fences that were put up after January 6th. You put the Capitol Police, not a handful of them in riot gear, but all of them in riot gear. You have the National Guard there. You have other federal agencies. The D.C. Police would have been there in a large force prior to that demonstration starting. All of those things were not that difficult to put together. But it's very clear to me and others that somebody in upper management, maybe going all the way to the president, I have no idea, called it off and said, no, we're going to let the Capitol Police handle it. We're going to have barricades, short ones close to the Capitol, and we're not going to have a large law enforcement presence. All of it catastrophically wrong.
Now, one of the lines that stuck out to me from Dunn was his description of people beating officers with Blue Lives Matter flags. Having worked in law enforcement yourself, how do you think that adds to the impact of the event, that there were not only law enforcement advocates, but also actual officers in that crowd?
That it's beyond sort of your comprehension. I mean, the idea that you have to fight people who don't want to get arrested, who've just committed a violent act, who just brutally raped somebody, you get all that. Your job is to investigate it and capture them. But the idea that you're actually going to now have to fight the people in blue, the people that you work with, and that they are so justified in their mind that they will harm you, they will kill you because they think it's a greater good, that the country will be in a better place if, in fact, we overtake the Capitol. I mean, that's why you hear these officers like, they just can't understand how in the world a sworn officer from wherever they might be in this country would actually attack other officers because of what primarily they believed was the end of this country as they knew it. I mean, Diane, it speaks volumes about the level, in my view, again, of brainwashing and really radicalization of a large group of people that would even turn against fellow officers.
Yeah, it sure does. And Attorney General nominee Merrick Garland, who's before the Senate Judiciary Committee right now, has said that he will establish an independent outside panel to investigate the Capitol siege. What might that group uncover about the day that we don't already know?
So what you're going to have, I think, is a mini version of the 9/11 Commission, where you will take the existing intelligence, the intelligence that MPD, that the Capitol Police, that the FBI, et cetera, that they had, that I guarantee you they all shared with each other. Okay, they're going to look at that. Then they're going to look at what were the preparations. What did the Capitol Police ask the two sergeant at arms and the architect of the Capitol, who oversee the Capitol Police? What were those discussions? It sounds like to me that then Chief Sund had said, look, we may need help this day. We don't know what's going to happen, but it could turn bad. I want the National Guard there. They were waved off. And so they're going to look at that. Why was it waved off? Who basically put the brakes on having adequate fencing and manpower there that day? They're also going to look at, was there inside information? Did somebody tell the protesters about certain aspects of what were going to go on that day, or the best way to get in there? So in other words, was there inside information? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? That's something they're going to look at. But the real key is, who do you hold accountable as to what happened at the Capitol? And we're going to have to see. My sense will be they will get to the end of the road. And of course, then people will start denying, I didn't really say that, I didn't mean to do that. This is the Capitol Police's fault, whatever it might be. They're going to come up with excuses. But you really need this commission. We need this to be laid out on the table, just like the Department of Justice, the FBI, the U.S. attorneys' offices around the country, and in particular in D.C., are prosecuting people. You have to hold people accountable for this type of behavior. Because if we lose the rule of law, we're in big trouble.
Former FBI agent Brad Garrett, we appreciate your analysis as always. Thank you. And when we come back, how one family pulled themselves out of homelessness during the pandemic. And as we head to break, today's tribute to Black History Month and the legendary artist who laid the groundwork for so many dancers of color.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.